Just a word to the wise, if you do come over to my house and you have a loud stereo system, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear it. I don't need to hear it. I've heard them all before. It's not impressive. I'm not a 11-year-old boy. I don't get impressed by the things like that. I don't get impressed by motorcycles or fast cars or any of that dumb bullshit. This is about as adult as I get right here. This is a fucking blood test for my diabetes. All right? Jesus Christ. But Patrick, I get excited whenever I hear a sound system. Good, then you go be excited. You go be in charge of something. Oh, that's right, you're not in charge of anything? Yeah, you're an idiot, that's why. So, and again, people are like, oh, you shouldn't be mean to your customers. And I'm like, I don't see you guys as customers. I see you guys as friends. And if you're going to be rude, if you're not my friend. So this dickhead, what was his name? Marcella, something like that. I know I've banned him at least twice because he didn't listen and he was a super cheapskate. And he pulled up with this super shitty SUV, Suburban or something like that, next door. And I'm like yelling at him. And then he's like, hey, what's up? And of course he's covered in tattoos, like neck, face, like fucking idiot. And first I yell at him. I say, hey man, I live here. Can you not do that? And he's like, and then he fucking mouths off to me. He's like, I'm waiting for my wife. And I go, I don't give a shit who you are. I said, don't fucking do that. You're not supposed to do that. I'll call the fucking cops on you. And then all of a sudden he starts acting like he's my friend. And he's like, hey man, I used to work for you. I used to blah, blah, blah. And I go, good, then fuck off. And I give him the bird and I tell him to fuck off. And I go, get the fuck out of here. Leave me the fuck alone. So then I come inside and I'm doing work. And then what do I hear when he leaves? Booming system. So he got the last word. And so that's the immaturity that a lot of these guys have. Like Steve Mead. Steve Mead is a really good example of that. So, and then the problem is that Steve Mead is quote unquote successful. I don't think he's really that successful. But let's say he's successful, right? That means he makes money at what he does. Does that make him right? Absolutely not. Does that make him rude? A little bit in my book. In fact, a lot of it in my book, especially if you're going through businesses like a drive-through. Like, that's not funny. That breaks windows, that breaks things rattle. Dude, you know how to crush your mom's dreams? Fucking start booming out in front of her house, and then her little trinket closet fucking shatters, and then little fucking statuettes and shit like that start falling off shelves. That's how you break her fucking heart. And that's the kind of jackass that you are when you show up with a system like that. Don't do that. What's really funny is when the guys are like, well, you sold this to me, blah, 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 blah. And I go, if I sold you a gun, would you shoot it off in my house? You jackass. You dumb jackass. No. You use it responsibly, you dumb fuck. Well, Sherry's having a good hoot. She's like, oh my God, you're the old man ranter. And I'm like, yeah, I got some good rants too. So I had a fellow of color show up, and he just kept saying, come on, man, come on. And he only had he shows me on his phone that he's only got $52. And we had a couple of bumps where he showed up and he wanted a system, but for some reason, and he's driving a black, probably like a 2016 Camaro. And so I'm like, okay, this guy's got money. No money. And so we ended up getting him, I had this old Rockford Fosgate ported box that I salvaged the terminals on. I ended up throwing it away because I didn't know it was broken. I just took it in on trade and I assumed it was good. He brings it back. He's like, hey, this thing's broken. I was like, okay, well, I charged you $40. You got $40 credit. What do you want to do? And so we ended up doing some other stuff, and he didn't have any money. So I said, well, we have an apprentice program. It's $25 an hour cash for credit. It says, or $25 an hour at credit. And some days we do cash. So, and he's like, oh, cool. I want to come back for cash. I was like, okay, well, you got to join the church. And so whenever I get somebody's ID, that means they've joined the church. So, I had him just packing, the 10-inch frames into the boxes and putting them in the container, and he did that. And then we, hooked him up, and he didn't have enough for, the Class D amp that I, recommended. But I said, well, come back tomorrow. I said, I don't have the amp right now anyway. So what we did was I had this old Dodge Ram enclosure that it was just tough to sell, and I've had it for like over a year. And so what I did was I put this DB Drive 10-inch dual 4 sub that I've had for a while, and it just had a really big magnet on it. It looks really impressive, and it wouldn't fit in the box, so I just mounted it with the magnet out, and then I said, just hook up one voice coil, which again is fine. It's not that big a deal. It doesn't hurt anything. And so he had the dual amp again, which is it's a really good amp. And then the next day, he's like, text me when you got that amp upgrade. And so I had stopped by Recoil yesterday to pay my bill, and I did a little shopping. I picked up his amp. They were out of them right there. And the only ones that they had available were B stock. And so I was like, I didn't want to go through testing a bunch of amps. So I just like, instead of taking what I wanted, which was 5 of them, because Recoil doesn't like it when I take all their inventory. They're like, this is for real customers. I was like, okay, whatever. So I just took one, not a big deal. But I texted him. I said, hey, $45 for the amp upgrade. Let me know when you want to get together. And then immediately he's like, well, what is it? You know, like he wants to examine to make sure that it's good. And I was like, okay. Like, first of all, I'm not going to recommend an amplifier that's too large for your subwoofer. That's a mistake, especially for somebody that's, I'll say, inexperienced. And so the amp does like 700 watts, 600 watts. The sub is good for, I think, probably 650. So it's a good match. And I said, well, here's a link. I gave him a link. And then he gives me some sort of rant, and it's in gibberish. It's in MB enclosures gibberish, mumble mouth. And then the only thing I can understand is for real, which is FR. And then something about that he worked really hard that night. And I was like, well, yeah, I gave you $75 in credit. It's $25 an hour. Like, you know, and then I gave him a good deal on the enclosure. The enclosure is like a $300 enclosure. Gave it to him for $60 because I got it for like $40. And then the woofer, again, I got it for $40. I sold it to him for $60. And then I took it in, I gave him credit for the Rockford box, you know, and we got him something else. But he was like complaining, and I was like, okay, tell you what. And then like, oh, and that's what it was. He basically was, I think he was trying to get sympathy from me. And a lot of people do this when they come over because they're like, oh, you know, you have so much stuff. You should just give me free stuff. And I was like, that's not how this works. That's not how anything works. And so it tells me it's a tell, right? Like you're playing cards, right? People have tells. You know when they're bluffing, you know when they're full of shit, you know, whatever. And it's a tell in people whenever they want free stuff because I have so much. I'm like, first of all, this isn't mine. Second of all, that's not a good policy to have because what it is it sets you up as a victim. And poor me, but it's self-pity. Poor me, you have so much. No, I don't do that to rich people. Now, sometimes I will say that out loud as a joke, right? But again, you have to know your audience and you have to say it right and you have to, you know, have it in the right context. But this guy was like serious. And so it was really kind of creepy. And I said, you know what? I said, look, I don't want anybody to feel like I took advantage of them. So go ahead and bring this stuff back. And as long as it's in good condition, I'll just give you cash for everything. So, and for the 3 hours, I'll give you $60 cash. I'll see you, blah, blah, blah. I think it was like, we ended up having to wait in line at CVS for a while. And so I was like, let's do it in an hour. And then he's texting me back and forth. And then all of a sudden he's like backpedaling and he's like, oh, no. I didn't mean to offend you. And I was like, you already burned the bridge, dude. Like it's done. Like once that bridge is burned, again, it's one of those things where, you know, and he even said like, no, I was just trying to negotiate. I'm like, why would you try to negotiate with emotions? So, and it reminds me of when I was in the military, and I remember I had some sort of objection that everybody got annoyed with, and you know, again, I'm idealist, so I try to get the best for people. I try to get the best for life. I try to get the best for everybody. That's the goal. And so I spouted out whatever my answer was, and then everybody's like, Patrick, if you don't have a solution, you know, don't fucking talk. And I was like, oh. I go, they were right though. I was like, oh. I think that a lot of people just find me annoying, so which is hilarious for me. But the military guys especially found me annoying. So I was like, maybe this isn't for me. But so anyways, but that was a good point, and I take that with me, which is that if you don't have a solution, there's no reason for you to even complain. We all don't like this. We all don't want to be here. We all, think it's hot out or it's cold out or whatever it is. We all do that. We just don't talk about it. So don't talk about it. Don't complain. Don't talk about the sand in your vagina. Just go over there and turn on the fucking hose. Let it run first because it's going to be hot. And then when it gets cool, then fucking stick it up in there and get it all clean. Don't be telling me about it. There's scabs and gnats and stuff like I don't want to hear about your gross, disgusting pussy. It's gross. So, but yeah, that happened. And then today I had to kick out a dude from probably Laos. His accent. It wasn't quite Vietnamese, and he came over he just came over unannounced, and he had fucking flip-flops on, and he drove an old Lexus, and of course his English was terrible. He's like, I bought from you a long time ago. And I was like, okay, whatever, dude, come on in. And I was trying to be nice, and I said, yeah. I said that he wanted new speakers for his Lexus, and I said, do you want it with the tweeter? He says, yeah, it's premium sound. I was like, okay, yeah, here you go. So I showed him the Echo series from Recoil, which I sell for only $45, which is cheaper than Amazon. Oh, and this guy, oh my God, he was like, you take $30. I only want he only wanted the mids. And I was like, no. I said, you got to take the whole thing. I said, not my problem, whatever. And then he comes back and he's like, you 40 best price. And I was like, no. And I go, you know what? I go, we're done. And I just kicked him out. And it's this weird thing about people. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe people just assume that about everybody and they get away with it, which is that they assume everybody is a cum-guzzling whore that only wants money. And I think that's a bad assumption. I think that's an assumption that leads to trouble. So first of all, it's a huge prejudice. That's what you're prejudging someone. You just see them and then you just assume that they're a cum dumpster, right? It's really kind of gross. It's kind of lame, and then to actually act on that, and then people whatever negotiate. And remember, typically when people negotiate like that, it's from honorable societies. It's from societies that really focus on honor, typically masculine honor. And I don't want to be as broad and say, well, it's just Asian cultures. It's Asian cultures, it's black cultures, it's Mexican cultures, it's anywhere there's dudes. Sometimes you see it like in Russian cultures and stuff like that. And you can say that about a lot of them. But it goes back to the irony is that it's not about negotiating. It's actually if it was like real negotiating, they would negotiate from a place of power, but they don't. They always negotiate from a place of self-pity. Come on, like they're begging. And I do not find that attractive at all. And I don't want to do business with anybody that does that. So, and then I've caught myself, wanting to say that, and I don't do it anymore. So I remain neutral. So, and that's basically how I went into court the other day, which was that I'm like, I don't care if you kill me. I don't care if I die. I don't care if you say no. It makes no difference to me. I have a backup plan. I have another move that I'm going to employ to get done what needs to get done. And that's the end of it. So, but let me show you some speaker stuff. So thanks for listening to my rant, guys. But I've had a couple of bad days. Oh, the last one was the Asian guy yesterday. So that's the one I made the video. I made the video about in the parking lot of the Safeway. So that one was a little bit of my fault. There was a guy that had texted me back in July about doing repair on a B and W Bauer & Wilkins subwoofer. And he sent me pictures and whatever. And that was it wasn't on my old phone. I don't know what happened. Oh, it was on my old phone. That's why. So because when I look at the text history, I don't have any of his replies. He also has an iPhone, so maybe that might have done something to do with it. So, but when I scrolled up and looked, I go, I don't see what this fucking guy's talking about. I'm like, I vaguely remember what he's doing, but I also offered him, like, it's for a home theater sub, and it's 4 ohm, and it's nothing magical. And I said, you know what? I have a Fosgate Audionics 15 that is awesome. I said, I'll give that to you for $150. I said, that's probably your best bet, because otherwise a Recone's going to cost, you know, even if I have the parts, I may have to change the frame, because companies like Bauer and Wilkins do proprietary dumb bullshit in order to get you to go back and buy their, you know, $1,000 replacement woofer that costs $20 to make. So, so that guy, what he did was we texted back in July, and then he just showed up out of the blue yesterday, and I was at my doctor's appointment, and my phone is blown up, and the caller ID came up as attractive nails. So I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then finally on the third or the fourth time he called, I answered, and he's real like, hey, I drive hour here for you. And I'm just like he's yelling at me, and I go, look, fucker, you know. And so I let him have it with both barrels. And then like, you know, he's like, he said, you said you would fix BMW subwoofer. And I'm like, I don't fix any BMW subwoofers. Like, throw them in the trash. Those are garbage. You know, like, I can probably sell you some Recoil ones, but I don't even like dealing with you if you're demanding BMW solutions, right? Like those stupid subwoofers that go underneath the seat. I don't want to deal with you people. You guys are crazy, and you're demanding, and you're spoiled, and you feel sorry for yourselves, and you drive a shitty old, you know, it's not even German, it's a Bavarian fucking car. And it, you know, your AC switch costs $450, and then you complain about the price. Like, don't fucking drive a BMW. That's how you make BMWs go away. Or that's how you make BMWs more affordable. Don't buy them. So anyways, so I let him have it with both barrels, and then he like was mouthing off to me, and then I realized I was wrong, and I was like, oh shit. And then I go, wait a minute, replay. And I go, he was rude on the phone. He was rude and demanding. And I go, no. And so I texted him. I said, look, first of all, I don't have the text that you have. And I sent him a screenshot of my text, because he sent me a screenshot of his text. I said, even if that's the case, you did not make an appointment. I had no idea you were showing up. Third, you fucking called, and then you knocked on my door, and you bugged my wife. And Sherry's trying to be nice. So I ended up getting into it with Sherry, because Sherry was like, I texted her and I said, tell that fuckface Asian dude, I said, tell him to fuck off. And then Sherry's like, you know, it's like she comes back with a nice little text, and I go, what did I just fucking tell you? Right? And so we ended up getting into it later, and Sherry realized she was in the wrong, and that I care about her, and I'm trying to save her life. I'm trying to watch out for her, but she has to do what I tell her to do, even if she doesn't agree with it, even if she doesn't know what's going on. So that's been an issue for us for a long time, where Sherry demands, right, to know what's going on, and then you know, she's going to put up a fight until she understands what's going on. And I'm like, Sherry, this may, you know, there may not be time for that. And also, why are you making that a priority? Is that really that important? No. So stop asking for it. So, but anyways, that's a whole other story. So technically, I was wrong on yelling at that guy and telling him that I was going to punch him in the face if I saw him at my house when I showed up. But he was rude. And so ask yourself, how do you deal with rude people? So, and I had a guy last night. Yeah, AWOR, AWOR. It's this creepy weirdo guy he wears a mask, and I think I banned him before, and I think he wears that as a disguise to keep me from recognizing him. But I recognized his voice, and I've seen him before, but I just played along, and sometimes I just like to give people enough rope to do their job. And and he did his job, which was, he's a spoiled little shit, and he demanded like 415s. I guess he was leaving to Cali to go give them to his brother or something like that, or a pair to his brother and a pair to somebody else or whatever it was. But like, I let him cut the line. Yeah. I let him cut the line. He had done some work over here, and so I was like, all right, like this is what I can do to hook up. But as soon as he got demanding, as soon as he's like, because I waited for him to paint the frames. He wanted to paint them some color or whatever. 2 were glossy black, 2 were glossy blue, and I ended up using the Rockford Fosgate dust caps, and for some reason on this version of the cone, it wasn't fitting in the cone inside the surround. And I'm like, other ones I've done a press fit, so I think there's 2 different versions of the cone that I got to look at to make sure that I'm using these correctly, because I've done it before. I think I posted a picture for you guys one time on Instagram or something like that. But anyways, I think one of the dust caps came loose. And then of course he immediately goes, ghetto drug dealer, former, militant or whatever the fuck he is, and starts like vaguely threatening me over a dust cap. And I'm like, he's supposed to be a mechanic. And I'm like, you can't fix a dust cap. Again, I don't say that to him. I just basically tell him to fuck off. I'm like, go kick rocks. And then I tell him, it looks like you wronged your brother. Why don't you fix things with your brother? And the other thing is, sometimes I make suggestions to you guys. Like I say, hey, why don't you just get a subwoofer from Recoil, and then I'll sell it to you. And you guys don't. You're like, oh, I want something you made, and then you don't give me enough time. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you then. So, and like I said, I'm not taking on any more orders. I've been so busy lately. It's been so fucking crazy because now I have people over here constantly helping out, and I have to manage them. So that means I don't have time to do the stuff that I normally do, which is packing orders and building subwoofers and completing orders. So again, it's like I need more people. It becomes this weird thing. And then Ash can only come out for like 3-4 hours a day, and because she's got her kid, and the kid's the priority, and I understand that. So it's been just very difficult. But thank you guys for listening. Let's do some subwoofer stuff. Let's go do that. Oh, one other thing, as far as we're talking about rants going. So I got the blog active again. It's blogger.com. What is it? I think it's robotunderground.blogspot.com. So, but I'm doing a new entry for Recoil, and it is pro Recoil. But what I'm doing is basically doing the MAP, which is minimum advertised price. So I got the new price sheet from Ron, and then I'm going down and giving us a very short description. Each one is going to have a link to the homepage. So that's what this link is, to the homepage, so you can see the specs, you can see the dimensions and all that stuff. If I've done a review, it'll say robot review. And then here we have these. This is the JL comparison. Comp doesn't always mean competition. In this case, and the rest of the world, like the real estate world, comp means comparison or comparables. So it'll say JL comp, and then the word comp will be hyperlinked to what I think is a comparable amplifier, and you'll get to see the price difference and any features that you might see. So any of the amplifiers that have not come out yet, like the DII 1400.4, has not been released. We don't have a copy yet. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday's shipment, which was due Tuesdays, got pushed out to Friday. So I'm going to visit Recoil on Friday, and hopefully they'll have some new goodies. Some of these SPL amplifiers that you've been wanting, some of the SPL subwoofers, some of the MST1 little doodads things. So I did the DII series first, which is only from dealers. The RED series, which you see a lot on Amazon, and I even put a link to the Amazon link. Some of this stuff is not sold on Amazon anymore, like I think the RED 1800.1. I had one for review, but I need to go buy one this time and do a review on that one. Because every one I've had, I've sold. It's a good amp, and it reminds me of the audio pipe amps that I buy under the BBC series. It's basically the same amplifier, because they have a 2500 watt one. That's the one I show you. That's the BBC 2500. That's why I sell it for $250 as well. Recoil still wants me to do the MAP at $250 shipped. I can do free shipping, and I can also do like a free, in the case of this one, I even make a note right here that it comes with a 0 gauge A&L fuse holder and 250 amp fuse. So when you buy from Robot. Okay, and then right here on this version, I put Hi-Fi Vector Review, which you can click on, and then Big Dummies Review, and then somebody called NX Revs also did a review. So I try to give you good reviews. If there's a bad review, like I will, check it out, and I will see if it's legit, if they have a legit complaint. Sometimes they're haters, sometimes it's misuse. I don't, again, this is supposed to be a pro recoil positive type of review, and Ron and Larry want to really put recoil up there as an alternative to the high-end brands such as JL Audio, such as Rockford Fosgate, such as Hertz. And so that's what I'll be doing the comparisons to. So you won't see any comparisons to like Harmony or Scar or anything like that. It's a little bit of snobbery. I don't totally agree with it, but I understand their perspective, and I want to play nice, and I want to be a real dealer for them. And so that part of that is playing ball. And again, I want to be very open with you guys. Some of the things, let me know if there's a bad link, by the way, just out of the blue. But some of the stuff, again, it's positive, it's pro recoil. I don't agree with some of the pricing. Again, I'm not in charge of that. I'm just not supposed to advertise. I can sell for less than the MAP, but I can't advertise less than the MAP. And that's meant to have everybody on the same equal ground when advertising publicly as far as dealers go. And again, that's like a shared agreement. Like we all agree to have sex with this pigeon, right? Because this pigeon's hot, right? Like Mr. Garrison. But that's meant to just have a level playing field. If you want to do extras, you can, and I do extras all the time. So like on one of the, what was it, on the for a while there, the RAD 2500.1 was being sold for $189 on Amazon. And that's just because they needed some money real quick. And I think their profit on that was probably like $40. So, and they brought in 200 of them. So $40 times 200, whatever that is. Again, that's really easy money. And it also gets the brand out there. Let me see what else. The DI series, I've came up with this format to kind of minimize some things, and you'll see an evolution as we go. And then I started to do the loudspeakers on their own, the Echo Max series. There's also an SPL series that they're going to be bringing in. They're doing the Echo Max also in a 15, but it's, again, TBA stands for to be announced. So we don't know yet, but I will put comparables from Rockford Fosgate and Hertz just to show how overpriced these three brands are. And so what it does is it makes Recoil look like a hero. It's not a superhero, but again, this is supposed to be pro dealer, pro Recoil, and I'm trying to show them that I can, be a team player. Even though I always want to go start my own revolution, but again, I want to work well with others. One little thing I wanted to point out was here on the, I did half the word comp and then arable on that one. And that's just so that when you're going through this, these end up looking all the same. And so I wanted to create a small little difference so you could see the difference between a D2 and a D4. Now, if JL Audio only makes this in a single 4 ohm, that's going to be the same as the D2, even though you can wire D2 to 1 ohm, okay? So I just tried to make it as apples to apples as I can, okay? Let's see, PW series, and then the Echo series, and then I'm doing the shallow series, and then now I'm down to enclosed subwoofers, but I will be publishing this by the end of the week. And again, what I really like about this as far as a web page goes, and as far as information goes, is it sort of puts all the links in the place that you want, and makes it easier for you to do your research and sort of cut through the bullshit. Because whenever I keep this window open here just for links, whenever I start searching for stuff, like a lot of dumb bullshit comes up that is not related. And so again, that's, Google doing its job. But some of the links go exactly to YouTube. Some of the links go exactly to Amazon for products. Now, in the case of something like, like Rockford Fosgate does not participate in the affiliate marketing for Amazon. So like if you post a link and let's say your video gets 1 million views, Rockford is cheap. They are not going to pay you, you know, whatever it is, the 50 cents that they probably owe you for that sale. And so the links that for Rockford are just going to go to the Amazon store. So then you have to go inside the Amazon store and then do your own searching. So, but that's the only way that I can get a referral, because anytime I send anybody to Amazon, or anytime any affiliate sends an affiliate link to Amazon, they keep track of, you know, what you're shopping for, you know, whether it's a Cum Gobbler 9000 or whatever the fuck it is. And then if you end up making a purchase, typically only in that session, it depends on if you delete your cookies or not. But if you make a purchase in that session, then I'm the hero and I make 10 cents or whatever it is. I don't give a shit. But it's just nice to get free shit at the end of the month whenever I get that little link from Amazon. But I wanted to show you guys this. Oh, let's do some woofer stuff. I wanted to show you this little beauty. This is the, what is it? I forget the name of the, is it LX? It's a 2.5 inch motor. It's basically a version of the Sundown SA motor, but it's a triple stack. They also make this LV, I think it's LV25. I think they make a double stack version, which is again on par with the Scar DDX and also Sundown SA motor. They use the standard 2.5 inch coil, while the motor like the DDX from Scar uses the slightly larger 2 5/8. So, and I have parts for both of those. This is just a 689 frame, the 4-spoke frame that I used steel spacers with to give a little bit of more ventilation for the coil. And again, brand new. Some guy who wants to build like 20 of these, and I was like, well, let me build one for you so I can get the TSPs for you. But I'll do that in a separate video with separate woofer porn. I wanted to show you this 12 I got ready now. So I wanted to show you this. This is the last of the GONZO Grinch before we order more. I haven't ordered any new frames yet. And this was the one that was, I had built for somebody, but then I had built it on a magnet that had not been magnetized yet. And I did not want to put it through the old magnetizer. A lot of that was just because I didn't want to undo the wiring. So we ended up just cutting it, brand new subwoofer, ready, finished. We just cut it, and I think, yeah, we did the GONZO cone on it this time. So, and then somebody had, the guy that I had originally built it for, I ended up upgrading him. Again, it's for the delay. I upgraded him to the GONZO Junior motor, no charge, and he loves it. It was fucking great. This guy wanted one on the Vato Supreme. So some guys were asking about what's the difference between the, okay, so the Vato is meant as the SA, right? Now, SA is a play on words, right? So like Sundown came up with that as in Sundown Audio, SA. But if you're on TikTok, you know that SA stands for sexual assault. And so I took it the other way, which is that, because we're here in Arizona, when somebody says, what up, SA? So, and then I said, well, if Jacob has the SA, then I have the Vato. And so the Vato is just a double stack, 1 inch, 2.5 inch motor, and then you make, you know, subwoofers out of it. And then I said, well, I got to do something better, man. My Vato is better. So I do the triple stack, which is the Vato Extreme, spelled with an X first, XTREME, the same way that Orion spelled it, which again, I was making fun of Orion. And so now we did the Vato Extreme triple stack, and then we did the Vato Extreme quad stack. And then this is the final stash of magnets that I have. These are the USA made Crucibles out of Kentucky. And I got these from the buyout from Jeff Flowers over at Volcano Audio, along with the magnetizer. So that's why this is called the Vato Supreme. This is the largest Vato motor that I will make. The end. Will it go into production like from China? Maybe, we'll see. I'm having fun with it right now. And it provides a really low cost solution that people seem to really like, and so I'm kind of enjoying it. Travis from JY Power, Travis Young, he built and designed the Twisted Sounds woofer, which is based, again, it's His was basically a larger version of the SA, which is based on a 2.5-inch coil, but you just make it real long. Again, I've talked about this several times where these coils were shared with Nick Hutchinson of Hutchinson Car Audio. He was buying them, and then my vendor said, hey, we got a whole bunch of these voice coils. Do you want some of them? And I was like, yeah, I'll take 100 of each. And so we've been making the Vato Extreme and also Vato Supreme with them. It's a 60 millimeter aluminum wind height. I'm actually getting a new version made for it. Right now I'm getting samples. We're going to use an aluminum former, which is a bit stronger, a little bit more sturdy, and it also provides better power handling, and it acts a little bit heavier because I want a little bit lower FS with the spider that we're using, and I think we can achieve it with that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do some woofer porn on this, but this one is already sold until we can get some more of these frames in. Again, I'm not going to be doing any more production. If I can do it, great. If I can't, don't ask for it. We just purchased like $5,000 worth of fucking motors from Lord Base. So that's going to be it for a while. And that's what that last purchase is going to be doing, is paying for the move. I'll be using the funds from that to pay for the move. So that way I don't have to pay out of the savings, which the savings I need in order to qualify for the loan for the SBA. So I need that money, but I'm still managing stuff. I'm still doing orders. As far as this subwoofer goes, this is the Vato Supreme quad stack. It uses the Hutchinson Audio Genesis voice coil, which is 60 millimeter tall, 2.5 inch in diameter. And then the spider I use, Lord of Bass sells it. It's a leaded spider that has a 2.5 inch neck and a 10 inch outer diameter. And I believe they were used for power bass, because power bass actually uses their X frame and then they use a 2.5 inch coil, which again, it's unpopular, but it's actually a really good combo. Again, Travis Young from Twisted Sounds had really great success with those subs. Very beefy. I think his version was a triple stack, triple 1 inch. Very impressive. Is it's saturated and overkill for a 2.5 inch coil? Yeah, absolutely. But that's what makes it cool, and that's what people kind of like. You know, it's a fun little sub. So let's do some woofer pornography. All right, the last of the Gonzo Grinch, and this version is going to use the Vato Supreme. So we can call it the Vato Grinch Supreme. Sounds like something Taco Bell would make. Let's do the free air. FS is 24 hertz. Damian did notice a little bit of a bias, a downward bias, and that's because the cone is a little too deep for it, but I don't think it's a big deal. So I'll make note of that when, because you can compensate for that when you're centering the height of the coil. You can bias it, you can compensate for it. So I think we talked about that before, about doing some bias sometimes, like if the only voice coil that you have that fits is a little too long, you can bias it north, you can bias it up, so that way you still get good excursion. It just tends to not bottom out as easy. So, and that's just a little band-aid sometimes that people get away with. Corey Dean has talked about it, I talk about it. Who else talked about it? Ed, what's his name? Ed Sparked or whatever his name is. I don't know. Anyways, this is the Dual 2 version. QTS 0.82. VAS is only 2 cubic feet. So if you want to hit 24 hertz, all you need is 2 cubic feet with this fucker. So recommendations are probably standard 1.2 to 1.5, and then tune to about 32, 33 hertz, and you'll get a nice little bump right there at the end. Again, play with the specs in the Win ISD or other box program, and that's what you'll see. And that's, again, it's not, you don't always want to shoot for flat, because that's not what people listen to. People like a little bass boost, and if you can do it without having to modify the enclosure, and if you can do it with even in a smaller enclosure than what the VAS recommends, awesome. If you can do it without equalization, awesome. So, but anyways, I love you guys. Thank you very much. We're going to still be doing these for only $300 shipped.